the rhythm and rituals when you're one of hockey's brightest stars. The nightly highlights reveal only part of the story. Sure, the impressive stats have fueled MVP talk and a fan frenzy. But on the eve of what many hope could finally be another Montreal Canadiens Stanley Cup run, I've come to get a close-up look and meet the man who could take them there. Carey Price, 27 years old, calm, patient. The goalie with a rhythm and ritual that punctuates every aspect of his game, his life. The media, with its spotlight primed, can try to catch a glimpse, but to really get inside the mind of this modest, understated hockey star, we have to step outside the locker room.
You're right out whenever you're ready. It's good to go.
Into Carey's comfort zone. So how old are these guys?
Modi is 5, Duke is 3. Come here. Good boy.
And why retrievers?
They're just friendly dogs. You know, they're very good around kids.
And take a walk with his 2 Labrador retrievers and have a chat in front of his beloved half-ton truck. So one of the reasons I wanted to do this outdoors was because of something your mother said. One of the reasons you're such a grounded guy is that you are an outdoors guy, that it's being outdoors that makes you grounded. What do you think she meant by that?
I just think there's kind of a peace and serenity with being outside, kind of connecting you with your surroundings, and kind of making you realize that you're a much smaller picture than what you might think you are. I'm pretty sure it comes from being raised in a very remote area. I had a great opportunity to grow up in a small town, really away from, let's say, contamination of larger cities.
He's not kidding. Price's roots are a world away from Montreal's South Shore suburb, where he lives during the hockey season. Growing up, home was the tiny town of Anaheim Lake in central British Columbia, hours from any kind of organized hockey. But there were always lots of animals and a family life steeped in the traditions of his mother's First Nation community. What do you remember about your childhood?
My grandmother lived with us, so I had the privilege of gaining a lot of knowledge from my grandmother. She was really fun to grow up with. We grew up in an older place, in a log cabin with a tin roof. Spent a lot of time outside, making bows and arrows out of willow branches. We had a creek in our backyard that I learned how to fish in, learned how to play hockey on that same pond.
Okay, this is now starting to sound like it's Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine growing up like that in a log cabin with a tin roof, playing hockey on the frozen creek. Not that many years later, you're considered one of the best goalies in the world.
It's a long road, It's kind of surreal when you look back on it, and how many things went right to get to where I'm at, and how much help that I had to get here. The dedication from my parents and the commitment that my dad made to drive me all those miles to help see me succeed is kind of mind-blowing.
This is like 3.5 hours each way.
Yeah.
To play for a team in Williams Lake.
Yeah, and that was just to play house league at the time. Just going to play, just to enjoy the game and have fun.
Do you remember those drives?
Absolutely. I was either doing homework or sleeping. It's we got to know that road very well.
And eventually he bought a plane.
Yeah.
A little bush plane and flew you there.
Yeah, a little Piper Cherokee, 4-seat airplane. Didn't go very fast, but it made the trip a straight line.
From your mother's side come your Aboriginal roots.
Yeah.
And what do they mean to you?
Well, my mom was chief of our band for 4 years. She's a very outspoken, passionate person. She's very committed to helping the community. She has a very strong work ethic, and I think I get a lot of that from my mother. I'm proud of where I come from and the band that I belong to.
So that kid who was playing on the frozen creek, I mean, did you think this was all possible?
Really, it was all about just enjoying playing the game. I never really thought about playing in the NHL myself. I don't think at that age it's kind of an unrealistic goal, but it seemed like every step I took, every opportunity that I had, it just kept getting closer and closer to a reality.
And reality came quickly. By 16, he'd left home, was playing major junior hockey in Washington State. A couple of years later, he was drafted by Montreal in the NHL.
Oh, what a stop by Carey Price!
And soon after, the Price name entered the Canadian hockey consciousness.
In comes Mueller on Price. Canada's going to the gold medal game.
As the hero goalie in the 2007 World Juniors.
Loose in front, Carey Price. Unbelievable save!
There was a gold medal in that tournament.
Canada will win the World Junior Hockey Championship for the third consecutive year.
Last year, an even bigger prize, an Olympic gold. Still, when you suit up for the Montreal Canadiens, there's only one trophy that really matters. Not to mention there's that awfully big goal crease to fill. The one once owned by Habs legends Jacques Plante, Ken Dryden, Patrick Roy, and others. How hard is it to play in this city?
At first it was difficult. There's, like you said, there's such a tradition here, and you want to live up to expectations. Everybody's looking at you, everybody's expecting so much of you. But you get to a maturing point where you stop worrying about it so much. You just worry about doing what you need to do to be successful, and not worry about if people think you're successful.
Is it hard to look up at the wall in the dressing room or the banners inside the arena and see that kind of tradition and past?
It's a really cool experience. If anybody's ever gone to the Bell Center, they'll always talk about how prestigious the club is. How historic the franchise is, and how many great players have come through there. Yes, it's very prestigious, but at the same time, I'm not trying to be Ken Dryden. I'm not trying to be Patrick Roy. I'm just trying to focus on what I need to do to win that next game.
Do you think the fans feel that way too?
It's
because you've had both sides with these fans. I
Yeah.
mean, for the most part, it's been great, but there have been difficult times where they've been on you.
Yeah, that was, like I said, that was when I was younger, and I was really more focused on what everybody was thinking of me, as opposed to trying to do the things that I needed to do to be successful. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten better at channeling my energies towards the right things.
Is it hard to put aside the fact that a lot of people are talking about you in extremely glowing terms this year, or do you just not read any of that stuff? You don't listen to that stuff?
Yeah, there's an old saying that you're never as bad as everybody says, and you're not as good as everybody says. So, I try and live by that.
For Price, there is a certain peace in front of the net, a mental readiness and quiet confidence in knowing exactly when to allow instinct to take over. It's a rhythm and ritual Price hones in the outdoors. He gets back to the BC woods every summer, goes fishing and hunting. Until a few years ago, he still competed in the rodeo. A man at one with his environment, whatever the environment.
There's Erickson, a drive, looked in front, rebound, flip to the net, and Price has got it.
So with that in mind, I try to get him to explain exactly what goes on behind the mask during a big play. I want to show you a picture. And it's Rick Nash coming in on you. This year he's like one of the top goal scorers in the league, right? And here's the puck, and you're laser focused on the puck, or it appears to be in this picture. What's happening in that moment? What are you looking for?
I'm actually probably looking at a stick, what he's doing with the stick at that point. I think that was in Madison Square Garden, if I'm not mistaken. He had gotten a partial break, and he was reaching towards the puck, and I was trying to decide whether I wanted to poke check him or just play the shot. And I wound up poke checking at the time, and it made him mishandle the puck, I think. So There's a lot of things that you're trying to read all the time, and that's why we go over video with Steph every day, is so you're not thinking out there, you're just reacting. The less thinking you do, usually the better reads you make.
Imagine it just took Carey Price about 45 seconds to dissect what actually unfolded in, well, have a look.
All this happens in a matter of a second. And all those judgments go into play. But it's interesting, you're looking at the stick.
Yeah.
You can tell from the angle of the stick what he's likely to be doing.
Most likely, some guys are pretty good at misdirection and misleading you, but in that particular instance, I remember the puck was far ahead of him, and he had a lot of speed coming into it. I think he had Markey coming in behind him. He had a lot of things going on at once, and if I threw one more variable at him, it might have been the one that pushed him over the edge, and it did.
Well,
Carey Price is indeed most at ease talking hockey, playing hockey, but there is a comfort too with the fans, especially kids. Check out these now famous unscripted moments.
Look at this, young Canadian fan. Hey, I want to do a selfie. Look at this, Carey leads in.
But that's Carey Price, who learned early on about the importance of taking the time and sharing.
the kids that are supported by going to the Breakfast Club have written you like lots of letters.
And so as we get set to leave, Price shares some thank you cards he's received from kids back in his hometown.
Chanel, yeah, it's thank you, and Carrier, which is the language.
Kids who get a boost through a charity he supports called the Breakfast Club of Canada with the Air Canada Foundation. Carey, his wife Angela, Mom Linda, and grandmother Teresa were all on hand last summer to promote the cause, which provides more than 10,000 meals a year, and that's in Anaheim Lake alone. It's all courtesy Price, ambassador, and inspiration to the community where it all began for him.
It's all about giving back to your community. It's a really remote area. Times aren't always easy. It's really dependent on forestry, tourism, and when those things aren't going well, it makes it really difficult for the economy. You know, like I said before, it's a long way from home, from Anaheim Lake to here, and it's kind of a cool way of showing kids that it is possible.
It must be hard sometimes, though, to sell that, right?
Yeah, it is. It's difficult. You know, it's like I said, it's a very remote area. It's very easy to fall into a trap of contentment. You know, it's easy to say, oh, it's too hard. I don't want to. I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going to leave. You know, but you know, if you want to make a name for yourself, if you want to be successful in life, you gotta go out and earn it. You gotta take advantage of every opportunity you get, and be willing not to be beaten.
What do you tell a kid when they come up to you and say, "How can I be a good goalie?" What do you tell them?
Practice. Like that's basically what it comes down to. You gotta be willing to do the things that other people don't want to do. And there's a lot of things that aren't fun. You know, when it comes to being good at goaltending, you got to be willing to get hit in the finger. You got to be willing to get hit in the collarbone. You got to be willing to be exhausted every day. You know, there's a lot of things that go into it. It's not just showing up to the rink and putting on pads and just doing it. There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Carey Price.
A lot of work. And when it comes to winning a championship, maybe even the Stanley Cup, Price insists a lot of teamwork.
I'm going to leave you with this quote from Dryden. This is the way he describes the difference between himself and you. He says, he was a good goalie on a great team. He says, you're a great goalie on a very good team, that you actually make the difference.
I have a lot of respect for Ken and what he did in his career, and even what he's done after his career. He's a very intelligent person. I have a lot of trust in the team that's in front of me, and there's that defensive core around me. And without those guys, there's absolutely no way I can do what I do.
What's going to happen this year?
I want to go all the way, obviously. You know, we have a very difficult road ahead of us. There's 3 or 4 teams that are going to be very difficult to beat in these playoffs, and if we want to get to our goal, we're going to have to do that. And this is going to be the hardest thing that we've ever done, but it's doable.
Gold medal last year. What would this mean?
Well, it's what I've been dreaming of ever since I was a kid. I've watched a lot of teams lift the cup, and I wouldn't say I'm jealous, but I am a little bit jealous when every time I see somebody else do it. So I like to do it myself.
Good luck this year.
Thank you.